Northern hairy-nosed wombat, Latirius graffiti. A small informative clip will be shown first.
I get to work in a dynamic team working with the endangered northern hairy-nosed wombat to conserve it, the species, for the planet, and it's a fantastic job. Xstrata's money has helped us by establishing the second colony at Richard Underwood Nature Refuge, and that has helped us with developing the infrastructure, so fence for protection, water, and also the wombat burrows, which is very important. Also for translocating the wombats down to Richard Underwood Nature Refuge, and also to manage the site and wombats while they're there. The reason why it's necessary to establish the second colony is because all the northern hairy-nosed wombats are in one spot in central Queensland, and because they're in that one population, there's a possibility that we might lose them from drought, fire, flood or disease, so we need to establish a second site to protect the species from extinction. I'm involved in the translocation of northern hairy-nosed wombat. I also manage the habitat down at Richard Underwood Nature Refuge, and we also monitor the population down there as well, and we do that through surveillance cameras, weigh stations, and monitoring the burrows, so where they are. We also use that data to learn more about the species. Future funding will allow us to establish a third colony, increase the number of wombats that we have, and also further our research into the ecology and the conservation of the species.
What names is the hairy-nosed wombat given elsewhere? The Queensland wombat, Queensland hairy-nosed, Moonee River wombat, Graffiti's hairy-nose, soft-furred wombat, broad-nosed wombat, Yaminion, the Aboriginal name, Barnard's hairy-nosed wombat, and a common nickname for the hairy-nosed wombat is the bulldozer of the bush. The only scientific name available to me was the Latirius graffiti. The classification of a hairy-nosed wombat is Animalia. The phylum is Chlorodata. The class is Mammalia. The infraclass is Marsupials. The order is Diprodontia. The family is Wombatae. This is derived from the Aboriginal name used for wombat. Latirius grey, found in 1863, is the genus. The species is the Latirius graffiti, the broad four-headed for Latiferius, after Gerald Graffiti, who was a curator at the Australian Museum. There is not much information on the discovery of the northern hairy-nosed wombat. It's believed to have been discovered by Owen 1872 and reclassified by Stratton in 2000. There is no available documentation of the discovery other than by whom and when the formal application to the endangered list in 2000. Characteristics of the northern hairy-nosed wombat. The hairy-nosed wombat is the largest identified herbivorous mammal. It is also known as the largest burrowing mammal. The hairy-nosed wombat is nocturnal. The northern hairy-nosed wombat is a solitary animal. Other than at breeding times or when placed under environmental strains, they can coexist for short periods until another burrow or source is burrowed. The northern hairy-nosed wombat has a unique broad muzzle with a thin covering of fine hairs, thus the name, the hairy-nosed wombat. The northern hairy-nosed wombats have a short stature that is complemented by their powerful forelimbs designed for burrowing in clay sand composite soils. Its nocturnal life allows it to graze it all night without any fear of natural predators, other than introduced predators such as dingoes. The northern hairy-nosed wombat is seen to have a very stocky build, with short, almost stumpy legs and a large bulbous head. They have large, thick claws that allow them to dig burrows without discomfort. They live in burrows. A burrow usually takes 1 day to be dug. Their fur is usually grey and similar texture to mink. The northern hairy nose have 11 elven-type ears and a broad muzzle that is uncommon with other wombat types. The northern hairy-nosed wombat can reach up to 35 centimetres height as a fully grown adult on average. They can be up to 1 metre in length. The northern hairy-nosed wombat can weigh around 40 kilogram mark. Within the northern hairy-nosed wombat species, they have what's called sexual dimorphism, where females are larger than males. This difference is due to the female wombat having an extra layer of fat comparatively to the males. They are also somewhat larger than other wombats and can carry 2 young without too many health risks. They breed at a faster rate and also have 2 young per 3 years once in full adulthood. The northern hairy-nosed wombat has very poor eyesight due to its nocturnality, and thus has compensated by having very large and perceptive nose and ears. The average lifespan is 10 to 12 years within the wild, usually over 5 years up to 15. 34 years was the oldest ever recorded in captivity. There's also been recorded capture of hairy-nosed wombats in its natural habitat, where 2 recorded were definitely over 20. The gestation and birth of a hairy-nosed wombat. They usually have young in singulars, but twins can occur. The average gestation is just 20 to 22 days. The baby wombat is known as a joey. They weigh about 2 grams when born and are the size of a jelly bean, about 2 centimetres long. They are completely bald and unable to maintain or generate any body heat. They are born blind and deaf. They have surprisingly good sense of smell. A large mouth and tongue that are developed in comparison to their bodies. Once born, they crawl into the mother's pouch by pulling themselves along with their mother's fur into the pouch. Once they find the pouch, they use their sense of smell, following the scent of milk. Once they reach the teat, they attach themselves by beginning to suckle, and the teat swells to fill their entire mouth, making it very hard for a joey to fall out of the pouch. The nursing stage. They stay in the pouch for 4 to 10 months. Then once they have significant growth, they leave for short periods of time. After 1 to 3 months of this behaviour, they leave the pouch permanently, but they will still seek comfort from their mother. Once out of the pouch, they will begin to eat solid foods. Their mother will tear grass out and place it in front of the young, encouraging it to eat. This begins to happen around 11 to 15 months. Even with this, still, they will not leave the burrow when the mother goes to graze. Usually once it reaches double weaning body weight, it will then leave the mother. A short clip.
Great news just in from rangers at Richard Underwood Nature Refuge near St George, Queensland. The first baby wombat in a second colony has been captured on our wildlife surveillance cameras. Mum and Joey are out and about feeding around the burrow number 2, part of a new colony of endangered northern hairy-nosed wombats aimed at conserving the species in the wild. The Joey is thought